Blockchain. You've definitely heard the word, right? But what does it actually mean? It gets talked about like this huge, revolutionary technology, but it's usually buried in so much jargon that, let's be honest, it can feel kind of impossible to grasp. Well, today, we are going to change all that. We are going to demystify this whole thing with one surprisingly simple idea. So let's just jump right in. I want you to imagine something. What if you had a notebook? But this notebook had a superpower, a notebook where, once you wrote something down, it could never, ever be erased or changed by anyone. That simple idea right there, that's the key to understanding everything else we're about to talk about. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to break this down in 5 simple parts. First, we'll stick with our unforgettable notebook. Then, we'll see how the whole chain thing works. From there, we'll look at how it's shaking up money and code, how it's being used in the real world, and finally, we'll get to the big one, why this technology might just change, well, everything.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. Part 1, the unforgettable notebook. Before we even think about code or computers, we have to really get our heads around this core concept that makes the whole thing tick. So, at its absolute heart, a blockchain is just that, a shared digital notebook. And there are 2 parts to this that are absolutely crucial. 1, everyone involved has their own identical copy, so it's totally transparent. And 2, once an entry is made, it is permanent. It's locked in. And that combination, shared by everyone, but unchangeable by anyone, that is the simple recipe for creating trust without needing some big company or bank in the middle.
Okay, so we've got the main idea down. Now let's just peel back one more layer and see how this thing is actually built. We're going to look at these building blocks of trust. And don't worry, I promise, we'll connect it all right back to our simple notebook. So the first piece of the puzzle is the block. You can just think of a block as a single page in our notebook. Simple as that. It holds a list of the latest transactions, a timestamp saying exactly when they happened, and some special cryptographic codes that basically lock that page shut. And the chain? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. Every new page, every new block is digitally linked to the one before it with this special unbreakable seal. This is what creates the chain. It's so clever because if you try to go back and secretly change a page in the middle of the notebook, you'd break that seal, the whole chain would shatter, and everyone on the network would know about it instantly. Now, this brings us to the secret sauce, decentralization. Think about it. Normally, one person or one company, like your bank, holds the master copy of the ledger. With blockchain, thousands of people all over the world hold an identical copy. And what that means is there's no single point of failure. There's no one server for a hacker to target, and there's no single boss who can decide to change the rules on you. So how does a transaction actually get into the notebook? Let's walk through it real quick. Step 1. Jane decides to pay Sam $10. That transaction gets broadcast to the whole network and gets bundled onto a new page or a new block. Finally, everyone on the network checks that page to make sure it's legit, and then they all add it to their own copy of the notebook. And just like that, that $10 payment is locked into the permanent shared record. And this all leads to a very cool-sounding word, immutability. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it just means what's written is written forever. Because of that chain we just talked about, and because everyone has a copy, you can't go back and secretly erase that payment from Jane to Sam. That absolute permanence, that's the foundation of trust. It's how you know a transaction is real without needing a bank or a lawyer to sign off on it. But hang on a second. If everyone has a copy of the notebook, how does the group agree on which new page to add next? That's a huge question, and it's solved by something called consensus. The 2 most famous ways to do this are proof of work, which Bitcoin uses. This is where powerful computers, or miners, race to solve a really complex math puzzle. It's incredibly secure, but as you've probably heard, it uses a ton of energy. The other big one is proof of stake. Here, users stake or lock up their own crypto as collateral to vouch for new transactions. It's a newer method that's way faster and much more energy efficient. Okay, so we've got the how it works part down. Now we get to the really exciting stuff, the what it does. Where is this technology actually being used to kick off a digital revolution? And of course, we have to start with the one everyone knows, Bitcoin. It uses blockchain to create a pure peer-to-peer payment system. You can think of it as digital cash that you can send directly to anyone, anywhere on the planet without needing a bank to act as the middleman. But blockchain can be so much more than just money. Ethereum takes this idea and runs with it, introducing something called smart contracts. These are basically just little programs that live on the blockchain and run automatically when certain conditions are met. So imagine an insurance policy that pays you out instantly and automatically the second your flight is officially canceled. No forms, no phone calls, no waiting.
And that kind of programmability opens up a whole new world, which includes things like NFTs, or non-fungible tokens. They basically use the blockchain's unforgettable notebook to prove, without a doubt, who owns a unique digital item, whether that's a piece of art, a song, or a collectible. For the first time ever, you can have true, verifiable ownership of something that only exists online.
But this tech isn't just for digital stuff. Its real power might actually be in how it connects to the physical world, tracking everything from the food we eat to our most private, personal data. Let's take the supply chain, for example. Companies are already using blockchain to track a product's entire journey. Imagine scanning a mango at the grocery store with your phone and seeing exactly which farm it came from, the day it was picked, and every single stop it made on its way to you. That kind of transparency is a massive weapon in the fight against counterfeit goods.
And the same idea can be applied to something as personal as our health. Putting medical records on a blockchain doesn't just make them super secure and tamper-proof. What's more important is that it can finally put you, the patient, in control of your own data. You could grant temporary access to a new doctor without ever worrying about your records being copied, lost, or sold.
This whole idea of control can even be expanded to our very identity. Blockchain can be used to create a secure digital identity, kind of like a digital passport, that you and only you actually own and control. You can see how this could be used for everything from more secure voting systems to instantly proving who you are to a bank without having to hand over copies of all your personal documents. So, wow, we've gone from digital money all the way to real-world mangoes. Let's try to tie this all together. What are the core benefits that have so many smart people convinced that this technology is a genuine game changer? So yeah, after all that, what's the big deal? Why go to all this trouble to build this crazy, decentralized, unforgettable notebook? Well, the answer really lies in just a few core benefits, and you'll see they all trace right back to that simple idea we started with.
It really just boils down to this. The system is incredibly secure because there's no central database to attack. It's totally transparent because everyone can see and verify the record for themselves. And those two things together, they create trust without needing a middleman. That leads to more efficiency, and with smart contracts, you get powerful automation. At the end of the day, blockchain is a new way to build systems where trust isn't based on an institution. It's literally coded into the network itself.
And that leaves us with one final and pretty massive question. The original internet gave us an internet of information. Blockchain gives us the potential to build an internet of trust. So if we can really create a digital world where our agreements, our money, and even our identities are secure and verifiable without some central gatekeeper, what in the world are we going to build on top of it?